From the Casey State Bank Digital First Studio at WTWO, this is the Goin to the Endzone podcast. Sponsored by Terre Haute Chevrolet, Indiana State University, and Kirshner Building Centers.
Welcome to another edition of our Going to the Endzone podcast. I am Grant Pugh, joined by Omar and Nicole. Guys, happy to talk some high school football. I was out last week. We're back and ready for week 2 of the postseason this time around.
Very exciting last week. I know you had fun celebrating that Vols win, so we were happy for you that you got to have that win and have that time off. But Omar and I had a good time on the podcast. We had a good time, and then we had a good time on the show as well on Friday.
Yeah, we had Coach Barrett and Grant, and then on the show, man, we had some guys with some amazing performances.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about, like Darren Hazard and Ryan Schaefer.
Ryan Schaefer, our current play of the night winner, 4 touchdowns. As you said, Omar, last week, a big win for West Vigo over Princeton.
Yeah, congratulations to them. First one in 19 years, I believe. They said 132 yards, 4 touchdowns for Ryan Schaefer, play of the night winner. So congrats to him. And, man, the Vikings looking pretty good, and we're excited to have them in again this Friday.
We'll see what happens this week. A tough end of the season for Northview last week. Nicole, you were there against Brebeuf as advertised against the Knights.
Oh, yes, they were, and they were up 28-0 before halftime. And, you know, the Knights were just having some trouble gelling. They had to take Kati out. They brought Colton Bath in, got some experience for the freshman quarterback, but it just wasn't enough. They were able to get up on the board. I was happy to see that, but Rates and his team just not quite able to get it done. I think next year they'll be able to kind of refine some of the parts that were missing, but I also think Brebeuf, like you said, just as advertised and then some, and even just looking at the height disparity between some of the players from Brebeuf and then Northview, they were just some big guys. So upsetting to see Rates and the team only make it through 1 week of the playoff, but you know we'll see them again next year.
Moving along to this week now, Terre Haute North, Terre Haute South. They had the bye last week. They're both in action. Terre Haute North on the road against Whiteland. Terre Haute South, one of the few games around here on Friday night. It seems like, Omar, they're hosting Franklin. Your thoughts, both you guys, on the Braves and Patriots after a week off. They dipped their toe in the playoff water this week.
Yeah, what a great season it's been for Tim Herron and company. You know, one of the more successful seasons they've had in recent memory. Josh Kati just lighting it up. They looked really good 2 weeks ago. The last time they played, I'm sure they're excited to get back at home, and good luck to them. We'll see what they can hopefully pull out a win here on Friday.
Yeah, and I think that the Braves have a lot of moving pieces. You know, you're seeing a lot of good play from Brady Wilson at quarterback, another young quarterback. You're seeing, as you said, Josh Kati just all over the highlights. And then you've got guys on the O-line like Jude McCoskey, who's really making a name for himself and getting some collegiate offers, and, you know, an O-lineman who's really stepping up along with other linemen at South. So I'm excited, and I'm glad that they have a home game, get to bring some attention to South. And then North, you know, they've struggled a little bit this season, but I think having that week off and getting to recharge, hopefully will get them ready for playoff.
Someone who has not struggled this season, that would be the Linton Miners, Omar. You were there on Friday. Just an impressive performance against South Lorraine and Coach Barrett, who was our guest last week. The Miners just keep rolling right along.
Yeah, congrats to them. They had a great season. No, it didn't end the way that they wanted to, but it was a close game, Grant. First quarter, they were tied at 7, and then really I thought what changed the game was Hunter Jennings. He's just a tremendous quarterback. He had a 62-yard run. South Vermilion, I believe, went 3 and out. The next drive, he goes another 29-yard run, and it just was 21-7 in a blink. Like, you were like, wow, this game was tied like 5 minutes ago. And that's what Linton can do. That's why they're the top-ranked team, as you mentioned, and they are going to be a tough out for anybody. You know, it's like, I'm not really sure, because I don't think many high school teams see the kind of speed from the quarterback position that Hunter Jennings has. So I don't know, like, on the scout team, do you have somebody that can replicate that speed? That's always the tough part that they're going to run into, but they're going to be a very dangerous team in the playoffs. We'll keep an eye on them. They could have a deep run.
Linton at home Friday. They will host Southmont. Miners back at home. Everyone wants to talk about Linton Sullivan, but first we've got 2 big games this week. Nicole, Sullivan had a comeback win, very impressive on the road against North Putnam.
Yeah, I think Mike Caton getting his first playoff win as head coach. Congrats to him. And I know, talking to him at the ISU game on Saturday, he's ready for Cascade. He's feeling confident. He's confident in his guys. You know, you got the Adams kids on the team, both of them really playing really, really well. And there are only 2 players who are, you know, standouts on the team. You've got a whole team full of it, and another strong O-line there in Sullivan. And I think that, as you mentioned, Grant, a team that is a little more familiar with Linton is Sullivan. So if they make it through Cascade, I'm excited for that matchup, because you mentioned Hunter Jennings' speed, and absolutely, you know, they did defeat Sullivan earlier in the season, but that's always a great matchup. And I'm excited because I think Caton is a coach that is ready for Brian Oliver and whatever his team's I'm just excited for that matchup. I'll be there regardless of what's going on, if it's Linton Sullivan, because that's a matchup that you can't miss.
Can't wait for that one for sure. If it happens, you said a lot of football to go. Perhaps we've overlooked the game of the week this week for high school football. 10-0, Gibson Southern, ranked number 2 in the poll. They won the state championship last year at 10-0, Owen Valley, Omar. This is one of the best games in the state on Friday night.
Yeah, I think you'll be there, Grant. That's the great game to go to. As you mentioned, 2 undefeated teams. Coach Gibson really has the Patriots rolling. They have great players. Christian McDonald having an outstanding season for him at running back. I think it's good they have it at home. Gibson Southern, the defending champions. They just knocked out one of our teams, Vincennes Lincoln, last week. But Owen Valley, I'm telling you, maybe Gibson Southern, I don't know if they make odds in high school, but maybe if they're favored, but I would give Owen Valley a shot at home. They have had a great atmosphere there at their stadium. So I think give them a chance to win, and it should be a great game. Should be fun to watch.
Nicole, we've touched on Owen Valley all season, too. They got impressive wins against Northview, against Sullivan. Just an impressive team now as they're back at home on Friday hosting one of the best teams in the state.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have Coach Gibson on the show later on today. I'm excited to see how he's prepping for this, because this is undoubtedly their toughest matchup of the season so far, coming in the playoffs. And like you said, they had some impressive wins during the regular season, but I think that they're going to see a whole new beast this weekend, and I think that it's going to be cool to see what they can pull off. I think it's cool that every week we've been talking about Owen Valley being impressive and really playing off of that, impressive end to the season they had last year. They were able to really condition and stay strong in the off season. And I think it's cool that we, early predictions, we knew they were going to be pretty good. Good for us. And I'm excited to see them take on this team. But I think they're going to have their work cut out for them. But I also think, them at home in that atmosphere is going to be a game to be at. Congrats to you. Get to go to that one. That'll be fun.
Friday. Much more on that game coming up later in our show. We're going to chat with Coach Gibson. Let's talk about Darren Hazard's show. We're sticking with all the games this week. Riverton Park gets a big win at North Central. They're at Covenant Christian on Friday. That game was moved. Covenant Christian doesn't have a home field, so they're going to play that at Danville. Riverton Park last week, Darren Hazard, Omar, we touched on him, I feel like, all season. Another strong touchdown performance.
Oh, yeah. We were talking during the football show on Friday, Grant. I can't recall ever seeing a guy have 7 touchdowns in a game. That's pretty amazing, so congrats to him. Outstanding offensive line for Riverton Park, and they will look to keep it going. They've really been improving. You kind of have seen them trajectory upward in the past couple of years, so they're doing some really good things there in Montezuma, and good luck to them on Friday.
Nicole, you touched on how big of a night it was for Coach Crabtree last Friday night, picking up a milestone win. Happy the Falcons are at home this week. They have a game against Traders Point Christian, but let's talk a little North Vermilion football as well.
And I think one of the things we always love to talk about with North Vermilion, they love to wear their shorts deep into the season, even when it's way too cold to be wearing shorts. They're always out there, the coaching staff. And, Coach Crabtree, just a great guy. And that, talk about an electric place to play a football game. You've got the cowbell always going at North Vermilion, so I think that's an intimidating place to go in and try to win a game as well. And so hopefully it's win 101 for Crabtree this weekend. But I think that they're going to have some good things to work with. And I think anytime you can come into the postseason, get a win, get that momentum going, it just makes it that much easier. And I think a home game, that means a lot in high school football. So.
Last but not least, North Davies on the road at Tecumseh. Omar, I feel like you went to the North Davies-Tecumseh game way back in week 1.
Yes.
Tecumseh's a beast this season.
They are very good, yeah.
Cougars going down to Tecumseh on Friday.
I want to say, Grant, I think North Davies scored a touchdown late before I left, in the first half. But, yeah, from what I remember with that game, way back in, I think, week 1, you said Tecumseh, man, they were just it seemed like North Davies had a problem kind of slowing them down. I wonder sometimes in high school football if that's an advantage, though, where you're like, okay, now we have this film. We can look at what can we do differently. Are there aspects of our game that we can adjust? We kind of know what their strength is, what they want to do. Is there something else that we can do? And always, I think, every one of these games we're talking to, this is always a factor. Owen Valley, North Vermilion, wherever, turnovers.
Yeah.
If you get turnovers from the other team, it's definitely going to give you a chance to win. And that's actually one of the things that I think sort of kind of going back to South Vermilion hurt them. It was early in the game. They stopped Linton 3-0. Linton putts to them. What happens? Fumbled punt. Linton got the ball there, and they scored on that. And it sort of changed the game, I think. Sometimes you can kind of get deflated, So watch the turnovers this Friday night. That's going to be a big key for all these teams.
West Vigo heading down to Pike Central. The Vikings got the big win, of course, last week against Princeton. We talked on Schaefer being our play of the night winner. Vikings looking for back-to-back sectional wins. They could head to the sectional championship game next week.
Yeah. How about Coach Clements in his first year doing that? Just recently had a baby also. Congrats to him. So good things happening there for West Terre Haute.
Hey, we are just getting rolling on our Going to the End Zone podcast. Coming up, we're going to check in with Owen Valley head football coach Gibson. We're back with more End Zone podcast right after this. Welcome back to our Going to the End Zone podcast. Week 11 of the high school football season coming your way on Friday night. We are joined now via Zoom with a special guest. He is the head coach of the Owen Valley Patriots, Owen Valley head coach Rob Gibson. Coach Gibson, thanks for taking some time to join us this week.
Yeah, happy to. I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, game of the week, maybe the game of the year in the Wabash Valley on Friday night. We've got 10-0 Owen Valley against 10-0 Gibson Southern. I'm sure a lot of Patriot fans are excited about this one this week, Coach.
Yeah, this is a really good thing for our program, and it's a really good thing for our community. There's been some success at Owen Valley several years ago, back in 98, 99, 2000. There was a really big run there. Struggled for several years here, and then the community's excited again. We've got administrative buy-in, we have community buy-in, the schools bought in. So just really looking forward to a really fun Friday night.
Coach, good to see you again. We just talked in our first block about the success you guys have had this season. I know you're very focused on the process kind of a guy. What has been your message to the team this week? I know you have their attention defending state champions coming in there, but what a great opportunity for the Patriots.
Yeah, it's a really good opportunity, and I appreciate that. It's good to see you again, too, by the way. And I'll be honest, unpopular opinion, I probably approach this a little bit differently than most would, because most people have told us all week long, guys, it's just another game. And I said, anybody who says it's just another game has never played championship caliber football. The stakes are high. It's not just another football game. If you want to play in championship caliber football games, there's a price to pay. There's a cost for it. We've paid the price. We deserve to be at a game like this. If everybody could play in a game like this, then I guess it is for everybody. If it was just another game, then everybody would have the same equal opportunity to play in a game of this magnitude, and that's just not the case. So I think if there's a cost, I think we've paid it. I know Gibson Southern has certainly paid it. They've paid it for several years now. So it's not just another game. This is a championship level and championship caliber football game, and I want to be able to do that for our guys.
Yeah, and Coach, I know that you mentioned you guys have earned that. That's for sure. When you look back at last year, your 10-2 record, and then this year being able to, go undefeated so far this season, what do you point to, really? I mean, there's a lot of good leaders on the team. There's no doubt about that. But what do you point to as, that recipe that worked last year and has just continued to work for you guys this year?
It's hilarious that you used the word recipe, because that's I know that sounds cliche, but there's a reason why grandmas make the best cookies. They've been doing it the longest. There really is a recipe. There are ingredients that it takes to make a perfect cake. So when you're trying to build a football program, you don't talk about wins and losses. When I took this job, they offered me the job, and I said, if you guys want to win football games, then stop talking about winning, because obviously right now there's not a process, there aren't ingredients, there's no recipe. We have to put that thing in place, and if we want to see success and essentially we want to eat the perfect cookies at the end, that's the outcome. We have to focus on the process and get there the right way. So if we just focus on doing what we're supposed to do, we hope the scoreboard takes care of itself. And if I had to say, the last 2 years, it's been a bunch of people who are bought in, the community who's bought into following the recipe.
You see this as a bragging rights game, too. I mean, you're a member of the Wabash Valley Football Coaches Association. It's one of those chances for the Wabash Valley to show, the Evansville area what the Wabash Valley can do. Certainly it's Gibson Southern, it's Owen Valley, but you kind of take a game like this as kind of bragging rights for our area for high school football as well.
Yeah, I think most people do. I think most people would. We don't look at it that way necessarily. It is difficult to get a bunch of 16, 17, and 18-year-old dudes around a 10-0 versus 10-0 football game and not look at it that way. There are bragging rights, but at the same time, we're not here to just beat Gibson Southern. We don't necessarily look at individual teams. Winning the sectional last year, that was almost bragging rights. And if we go 10-0 and we lose in the second round of the sectional, then we've got more work to do, obviously. So I'm very realistic. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not a really cool thing, that we've not earned it and that we've not done, a good job following that process. But when you go into a game like this, we want to focus on the little things and let the scoreboard take care of itself. If we're fortunate enough to get out of this week and we win next week, hopefully at West Vigo or Pike Central, then we're talking a little bit more bragging rights for sure.
Very cool. Let's get outside the box a little bit. We talked a little matchup X's and O's. Take us through your mind coming up on Friday night or any game day. Is there a certain couple things you want to do? Do you eat the same meals on Friday night, Friday morning? Take us through, this, like you said, this is not just any other game Friday, but take us through kind of your game day routine, Coach.
Yeah, so if I make it to my alarm, I wake up at 5:30. If I don't, then I wake up when I do. And normally on Fridays, I'm up by 4:45 or 5 o'clock. Every Friday morning, the principal here at the high school, Robert Boltinghouse, he and I go to the local diner every Friday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we eat breakfast together. We do that inside football season and outside of football season. That's kind of our time to build that relationship, and we try to create like a 360-degree fearless feedback culture here. And so that's kind of our time for me to provide feedback to him, and he provides feedback to me, and we just kind of talk and hang out. So we start the morning like that. I'm a special ed teacher, so I go all day, emotional disability, behavioral management students. So I spend all day hanging out with those guys, which is awesome. And then after that, I don't really leave after school. Normally somebody has food brought to me here. I just eat the food and then go from there. So a pretty normal day. I don't watch film on Fridays, which seems kind of crazy because that's game day. But if I watch film on Fridays, I feel like I'm going to see something and overcoach or think second guess or think I should have put this in. If I try to put something in on a Friday, then we're not going to win the game anyway. So don't watch any film on Fridays. Just kind of go through my normal routine and then come to the game on Friday night.
That's really cool, Coach, to hear kind of your routine leading up to the game. Now, when you guys are like in the locker room about to take the field, what are some of the keys that you'll kind of tell them that, like we talked earlier, that turnovers would be one of the key? What are some of the key factors you think getting this win Friday?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to be part of some pretty good football teams over my career. We won a state championship in Ritter. We won, regional at Danville, and I played at Marion. We've had some success. I've learned some from some really good guys. And that recipe, to be honest with you, that recipe at every single place is pretty similar, and it pretty much stays the same. When you have a good football team, if you think you have a good football team, then a lot of times you think the only team that can beat you is yourself. And like you just mentioned, penalties are one thing that can beat you. Turnovers are certainly one thing that can beat you. And we talked about, I've talked to the team about this, and one of our coaches, Coach Stevens, has said this 100 times, and I've said it 100 times. When you play in a game like this, it's not going to be the things that are new that get you beat. It's going to be the things that you routinely do every single day. We run inside zone 100 times a week. We run power 100 times a week. If you don't do those things exactly like you've been taught, leading all the way up to the game, leading all the way up through the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, those are the types of things that get you beat. So making mental mistakes and things like that, turning the ball over, penalties. We like to think that we're the only team who can beat ourselves. We like to hope we don't do that. But if once you get into the playoffs, the deeper in the playoffs you go, the smaller the error, the smaller the window is for margin of error. You can't make mistakes versus Gibson Southern. If you make one mistake, they capitalize. You make another one, they capitalize. You blink and you're down 14-0 because you made two mistakes. So it's not like you want to sit here and say you have to play perfect. But looking at week 11, I don't think that's too much to ask. We've been doing this thing since June, and I told our team on Monday, if you want to play a team like this, you can't make mistakes. And I'm not asking too much for you guys to play perfect.
Well, we're sure you're going to play near perfect, if not perfect, on Friday. And I think something you've talked a lot about is, that feedback from the community, the buy-in from the community. How key is that, and how important is it to have that stadium packed on a Friday night over in Owen Valley country?
Well, it's tremendous. When I was actually the offensive coordinator at Greencastle High School before I took this job, and we played here at Owen Valley week 8. And there were about 311 people in the stands total, if you count home and away. Wow. And there's going to be 6,000 or 7,000 people here Friday night. So to see the community buy in and stuff like that, that's great. We talked about that in the interview. If you want to get people bought in, I think that's one mistake that people make often. When you try to get an entire community bought in, people try to host community events and get the entire community bought in, and it's just very unrealistic. So what in my opinion, what you do is you find who in the program, who in the community, who are the key stakeholders in the area, who's the local grocery store guy. Here it's Rob Babbs. Who's the local hardware guy? That's Chris Ball. You get the right guys, the right ladies, you get the right people involved. Maybe it's 6, maybe it's 7, 8 people. You get those 6, 7, or 8 people bought in, and then they go to the community and they spread the word about, hey, this thing's going to be great. We've got an excited exciting coach. We've got this, we've got that. If you can get those key stakeholders bought in, they're going to do the work for you. And I credit to those guys. The administration's been great. We've had a ton of people get bought in here, but it's not like I've come out here and just hosted a bunch of community events and got everybody bought in. Those key stakeholders have done a great job selling this place, and I'm excited to see it come to fruition on Friday night.
Coach, we know you're a busy man this week with a big game on Friday. Thanks for taking some time out to join us on this week's podcast.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys. The guys are out there right now. We're 15 minutes into the rest of practice, so I'm going to head back out there.
Awesome. Thanks. Head back to practice. Hey, and the weather looks good Friday night, too. We're excited for that.
Hey, sunglasses on, baby. I'm telling you, it's like 60 degrees, and it's going to be awesome. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff, so obviously the sun won't be out, but the weather's going to be great. You couldn't ask for much more.
Good luck, Coach.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks
to Coach Gibson. We're back with more Going to the End Zone podcast right after this. Welcome back to our Going to the End Zone podcast with Omar and Nicole Christina. I am Grant Pugh. We've touched on high school football, plenty of high school football coming up this weekend, but we have to touch on, of course, some college football. We're going to start, guys, with a tough sledding as it continues for the ISU Sycamores. After a homecoming comeback, they almost mounted the entire comeback against Illinois State. Oh, no worries this week. You have to go face the number one team in the country, South Dakota State, and the Jackrabbits on Saturday.
Nicole was trying to will them to victory on Saturday. They came close. They had a chance. Cade Chambers, if you watch that game, they were down pretty much the entire game. So it's credit to them that at the end they had a chance. If they scored the touchdown and kicked the extra point, they actually could have won the game. So, Nicole, I thought it was just a good effort to stay with it. Coach Mallory said in his post-game comments, a lot of fight in the team, but you just would love to see them close one of these games.
Oh, yeah, and you're seeing now 4 weeks in a row that you're getting within a possession and you're getting so close. And, I mean, the frustration is definitely there and the desire to, prove people wrong when you start to get into this, 1-5, 1-6, and you've still got some tough games. It becomes a little bit of a battle to prove people wrong that we are a solid team and we're much more than the record. That's what they want people to think. And, Dante with that, I mean, spinning around two defenders, doing Dante Hendricks things and, almost getting that comeback when it was a heartbreaker, that's for sure. But I will say this, South Dakota State, that dome is a really hard place to play in. But
you've been there, right?
Yes. I'm sorry. I've been to the
other one.
North Dakota State, the other one, the other hard Dakota team. Yeah, the Fargo Dome. So, South Dakota State, Jackrabbits, tough team, obviously number one in the country. Just another thing that ISU has to face this year. But I think you're going to see a week of really hard practicing. I know that's going on, and a week of just continued conversations about the fact that we still got 4 more games and still got 4 more weeks. And I think you're going to see another good performance from Cade. I think you're going to see another good performance from Dante. You're going to see these guys step up. And there were a couple people who had some good solid games that were a little quiet against Illinois State that I think you'll see kind of stepping up again. And I know they're practicing their heart out this week. So, I mean, it's going to be a tough one. But then we've got 2 more home games in Western Illinois. So I think, you're going to see some impressive play from the Sycamores. And they have been playing impressively.
Yeah, that's what Coach touched on is his press conference on Wednesday today, that they're not giving up. They got down 20-0 against Illinois State. They didn't give up. They had a chance to win at the end. This team is not bending over, and they're hungry. They're to get over the top. One of these weeks, you feel like they're going to get in the win column. We hope it's really soon.
Any idea, Grant? Do you think they'll still stick with Cade or Gavin? Maybe
Coach said all 3 quarterbacks are kind of healthy this week. Gavin's finally, I feel like, back to after he'd been injured. So, but Cade has played well down the stretch. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see at least 2 quarterbacks in this game. Maybe more.
And as Nicole mentioned, good team. South Dakota State, North Dakota State. Everybody kind of knows about that game. The Dakota marker. South Dakota State won this year. So
yeah,
as you mentioned,
and look at how ISU played against North Dakota State.
Yep.
So I mean, you've got some fire there for sure. Like you said, I mean, they are not giving up. And
the rushing attack, I feel like, has been good for ISU. We of course know how fast Justin Dinka is. You've seen T. Hodge. They're not going to give up running the football, which helps any quarterback, no matter who it is and for the Sycamores. But the commitment to running the ball helps open up things for Dante Hendricks too, who's a machine. He has a catch in 5,000 games in a row. It seems like an impressive streak for him.
And a quick point about that, I believe he's 55 yards now away from the school record. So it's possible, like if he breaks one, as Nicole mentioned in the game, that was an amazing play. Yeah. I don't know how he stayed in bounds, but a decent game from him, and he could be the all-time receptions yards leader at Indiana State.
Best of luck to the Sycamores this weekend. We'll keep you posted on the road. Rose-Hulman, their final home game of the year, Omar, on Saturday against Defiance, 1:30 kickoff for that potent Fighting Engineer offense.
I think, Grant, if we can all just take a minute to pat ourselves on the back, because didn't we say about a month ago they were 0-3, and we were like, too much talent on that team, too good of a coaching staff, and look at them, they reel off 4 straight wins. Now they have Senior Day coming up. You'd like their chances. Miguel Robertson and Jalen Hobbs each had 4 touchdowns. Robertson threw 3 to Hobbs, and then Jalen also had a punt return for a touchdown. Wow. So they are just firing on all cylinders, and certainly good luck to them. It's been an outstanding season for Rose after the way it started.
Right.
I mean, to be 0-3, we kind of talked about in the past, it's easy to kind of get down, but no, they just kept coming to work. Too much talent, good coaching staff, and good luck to them on Senior Day.
Maybe the best use of a bye week I've seen in a while. Yes. I mean, they really recharged there. So, and I mean, playing at home, it's going to be a good send-off for the season. But, yeah, good luck to them for sure.
Guys, any other final thoughts as we close out another Going to the End Zone podcast this weekend? A lot of good football. It's sad football is kind of winding down, but these late October games mean a lot, certainly for sectionals and for college football.
Several exciting games we're going to, Grant, this week. I think top of the list is your game, Owen Valley and Gibson Southern. That just has the makings of a great game. And, I know Gibson Southern will probably be, maybe expected to win, but I think it's always tough at any level of football to go on the road, make a long road trip, and you're going to go into an electric atmosphere. I mean, those fans are going to be, excited, And so I think that should be an outstanding game. Excited to probably get to West Vigo, it sounds like, this week. And
yeah, all of our teams, this is where you work hard all off season. You're sweating, conditioning in August, dog days of August, September, and here we are, sectional semifinal week.
Work your way kind of from, what do we always say, hot to cold, right?
Yes. Hey, the weather looks good again for Friday, so we'll take it. Hey, thanks again for watching our Going to the End Zone podcast. Shout out to our director sitting next to me, Luke Knight. Hey, we'll see you next week. We'll probably see you at a football game this weekend. Thanks for watching, guys.